Hello and welcome to m253 Calculus 3 here at Cañada College. In this video we will take a look at an overview of section 4.1. This section will introduce us to functions of several variables. We'll start with a definition, and the definition of function is really just like we've seen before, a rule that takes an input and an output. Except this time our inputs will come from a two-dimensional domain, xy, and then our output will be just a single number, a real number, and that would be our function of several variables. And then we're going to take a look at graphs of these functions. Now these functions will have a graph that would denote the xy plane as your input, and then for each point on the xy plane we'll have an output. So these graphs would look like three-dimensional surfaces. Here are some examples: a plane, a dome, and some other weird mountainous surface. And this happens to be the default for our CalcPlot 3D graphing program that we have online. Next, we'll take a look at level curves. The idea behind level curves is to take a look at a three-dimensional surface and cut it with some planes. So a level curve would take a look at this surface, and then we're going to cut it with horizontal planes, or planes that are parallel to the xy plane. Now looking at it in three dimensions kind of defeats the purpose of simplifying our graph, so we'll take a look at these intersections between these and the planes on the xy plane. And so these are going to be our level curves, and they're also sometimes called contour curves. Now there are also vertical traces where we take our graph and we cut it with another plane, a vertical plane. And so we'll take a graph and we'll cut it along the xy plane, and we'll also cut it along the yz plane. Well, let me say that again. Let's cut it with the xz plane and the yz plane. So if we cut it with the xz plane, we'll see in this particular scenario our vertical trace is going to be a parabola opening upward. And then if we cut it with a yz plane, we'll see in this particular scenario that it will be a parabola opening downward. So those are our level curves or contour curves, and traces or vertical traces. Next up, we're going to take a look at these functions in three variables with three independent variables. And so just like we studied before, our input is going to be the three-dimensional, or in this case an n-dimensional vector or a point, and then our output would be just a regular real number value. Trying to visualize this would be a lot more difficult because we can only visualize things in three dimensions, and if we have three variables going in as an input, that's already in three dimensions, and so the output would be fourth dimension, and that would be hard to visualize. So instead, we're going to take a look at functions of three variables and look at their level curves, or in this case, it would be a level surface. The idea behind a level curve is to let z equal to a constant, and then you'll have a function or a relationship of x and y. This time, our level surface will be setting your xyz function into a constant, and then we will come up with a relation between x, y, and z, and we're going to try to visualize that graph. Now this is where it would be a good idea to have those quadric sections and those other surfaces that we've studied, and get a good grip of how they might look like so that you can visualize your level surfaces. Okay, that is the end of section 4.1. Good luck.